Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park 20 playthrough with the Phillies. We are into September, and for the fourth year in a row, we are in another playoff hunt. But this year, it's going to be tougher to win that division, I'm thinking. So we're trying to four-peat as the National League East Division winner, get back to the World Series. And last episode, we were getting close, I think, to catching Atlanta. We left off about around the trading deadline. We managed to catch Atlanta and pass Atlanta, but then we hit a rough spot. So if you look at the standings overall right now, we are tied neck and neck, 79 and 54 with, what is that, 29 games or so to play. And what might be good news, I don't know, but we're going to start off playing today 3 games at home against Atlanta, so that's going to have a big determination, perhaps, on how we finish. But after just really playing lights out in May, June, July, we stumbled a little bit in August. We were still above 500, but not enough that Atlanta couldn't catch up with us. And Atlanta's on a really hot streak right now. They, I think, won 6 in a row. New York, however, has collapsed. They've lost 12 in a row and are pretty much done in terms of the playoffs. I still think we have a good chance at making the playoffs as a wild card team, even if we don't win that division. But, man, I do not want to get into that situation. I really want to win the division again. I hate the one-game playoffs. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in general, I know, but those one-game playoffs are really scary to me. But looking at the league as a whole, we'll do that, look at a couple things, and then we'll go on and finish out the season. So if we look at records and teams in the American League, I think Minnesota's kind of a surprise. And once again, if the last I checked, Rocky Stroman was having a pretty decent year, and he is again at 13 wins. I don't know if he's going to have a Cy Young Award type season this year, but still doing well for them. But they've kind of put together a really good team here. Maestas, 24-year-old player, really good offensive player. Chris Lewis, he's 33. He's been around for a while. But they're having a good year. Might be a team to beat in the playoffs in the American League. Yankees looking good. Seattle, Houston, Cleveland also looking pretty good. They're the team that we lost to last year in the World Series, and then the Red Sox. Those are the teams kind of in the playoff contention there. In the National League, you got us and the Braves. Then Chicago and Pittsburgh kind of battling it out in the Central, and then Arizona just running away with the West. They are the best team, I think, right now in baseball, but we might have a little bit of a race for that second spot in the wild card, unless one of us totally collapses. I think it's going to be either Philadelphia and Atlanta, then the Dodgers, Giants, or Pirates. So I've seen years where we've had more teams really going for those spots. So this year it looks like it's not been as competitive. Individually, Steve Bond still just having a tremendous year. I never expected this, honestly. Thankfully, I signed this guy. He's still leading the league in batting. Gutierrez on the stolen base list there. And then Zach Thompson, really positive from him, leading the league in wins at 17, leading in wins above replacement at 5.5. He was pitcher of the month again in August, so 2 times this year he's won pitcher of the month. So he's been really doing great for us. The other thing, or the rest of the team though, this is going to be controversial, I know, because I left off at the trading deadline, and I was about the only guy I was really getting any good offers for was Joe Scott. And one of the things that kept coming back when I tried to trade him was some pretty good starting pitchers, and otherwise that was about it. And the controversy, I guess, like the Yankees this year in real life baseball, the Dodgers, I did not make a move. I sat on my hands. I we were playing so strong. I was like, you know what? I'm going to ride this team because I just could not put together a trade. And I tried Scott, but and a few others. I just could not put together a trade for someone who I really thought benefited us. But now I'm kind of second guessing myself on that. Scott has had a good second half. Pitched a lot better, really, than he was pitching when I tried to trade him. But I think with Atlanta playing so good right now, it would have been nice to have a better starting pitcher. I think last year we traded for Deshaun Woolard at the trading deadline or before when Ken Dion was injured, and Woolard really had a dominant second half, and he was, I think, one of the main reasons we made it to the World Series again. So I think even though we're pitching heavy, I'm really regretting not going for one of those trades I had with Scott for a starting pitcher. And I think it was going to hurt us budget-wise as well. The one guy I was really looking at, I think it was a 2-year deal. He was getting, or 2 years left on his contract, or around $12 million. I mean, that would put us in a tight spot in the offseason. But I still think it was probably worth doing because Dion has been hit or miss. He's already up to 9 wins, may get double digits in wins, but he's not the same as he was 2-3 years ago. And to really get to that next level and win the World Series, I think we have to be dominant in all areas. And I may have missed the boat on that one. On the lineup side, we've got some guys still playing well for us. I know Dowdy has been fairly solid. Gutierrez the same. Pritchard, this guy might be a second half, as opposed to Warlick. Warlick seemed to play better in the second half. Pritchard just started off really strong. Was with Bond. I mean, he was leading the league in batting through May. He was first and second with Bond. He has had a terrible September and not too great in August, 221. But we've got some positives, brought up some minor league filler to kind of give us depth in Romero and Villalobos. Radeball has looked good, even though Dowdy is still, I think, the best starting second baseman. Radeball has looked good enough that I may have to consider giving him that starting job next year. But we'll see how that pans out. But we're going to get started and sim through the rest of this season and start out with this Atlanta series. It's still early, but I really think this is going to tell us a lot. So game 1, we lose 3-6. And it looks like it was McAfee who took the loss here. Warlick had a couple of hits. McAfee was poor. 5 innings, just 5 earned runs in just 5 innings. He did have 8 Ks. But again, it plays back to why I really think I should have traded Scott for another starting pitcher. Game 2 against Atlanta, we win 6-5, thankfully. Dowdy 2 for 3, drove in 3. Bond 2 for 3, scored a couple. And then pitching-wise, Parker got his 10th win, so he's double digits for the year. Hadakiyama, his 41st save. Jackson is another guy. He's finally healthy. I'm hoping that he'll be good down the stretch for us. And now game 3, very important game 3. We win. We move back a game up on Atlanta. And we win 1-0. Great game. Not much on the offensive side, but Zach Thompson once again coming through. 8 innings, no earned runs, 10 Ks, 18 wins. Hadakiyama, his 42nd save now. Thompson, this guy I think is getting to that ace level almost. I just hope he keeps it up. So we did what we had to do. We won the series. Let's look at the Players of the Week. Lou Villa having a so-so year with Kansas City, but won the award this week. Cardinals won Polo. We got some injuries to look at. Cincinnati, a pretty big injury to their starting rotation. Oh, big injury here for Arizona. Joe Howard, last year's MVP, he's going to be out for 4 weeks. That's going to run into the playoffs, so they're going to definitely miss him. power rankings, we moved it up to third. We got away against Chicago and Atlanta. So this week's going to be even tougher. Chicago's still holding on in the Central and looking really well, looking really good. I wanted to, if Lehigh Valley's season is over, and I think it should be, they got 2 more games. There's a guy there that we picked up as a minor league free agent, or he was actually just thrown out there. Ty Lucy. I'm going to bring this guy up for the last few weeks of the season, just to have some depth in that outfield. But let's get through the couple games here with Chicago. Game 1, we win 6-3. Cal, big game. I didn't talk about him. I should probably at this point. But Barbarossa picked up his 13th win. I did have some injury problems once again with the first baseman I traded Ian Norman for last offseason. He hit a big 6-week injury. Still going to be back, I think, before the end of the season. But I really had to scramble after getting rid of Tupper. And I was able to trade an infielder from my AAA team who was honestly ready for the majors. I just didn't have a spot for him and didn't really like his personality ratings for this guy. And he's got good ratings, good power, contact, and I think he's going to help us if he's available for the playoffs. I think he may even help us as a bat coming off the bench. He's strong against lefties and righties, but he's had to fill in for Paris, and he's definitely done a lot better than Tupper was doing. So that was another move, really the only trade I made the second half of the season. But at this point, I think I needed to. All right, so game 2 against Chicago, we lose 2-1 in 15 innings, and now Atlanta's back tied with us. Good pitching performances here. Ken Dion, 7 innings, 1 run. The bullpen was strong until they got to Davis, who still having a really good year from him. Looking at the news here, there's a lot of things going on. Mike Jackson injured again, but he's back to full strength immediately. So now I'm going to bring Ty Lucy back, or bring him up, and see where I can fit him in. He plays left field. I think I'm going to put him in there to back up Pritchard against lefties like every third game. I don't know if we're going to see many. And then against righties, I think I want to put him as a pinch hitter. Maybe let me double check. He's got some speed too, but I think I'm pretty set on speed. Let me just change this game strategy though to make sure that he's going to take advantage of that. His ratings, they're pretty decent against both sides. Let me see if I can get him some. Like for Villalobos, I don't think Villalobos needs to be batting here. And then lefties, Ty Lucy. Probably put him in for George. Just trying to get, some better options there offensively as we go down the stretch. All right, so game 3 against Chicago, big one here. We need this win. We win 6-3, jump back up over Atlanta. So Pritchard scored 3 runs here. Dowdy scored a couple. Vega 2 for 4, drove in 4, and then McAvee injured. Is that what that's going to be? Probably some kind of nagging injury in the game. Let me see if it tells me. Mike Jackson injured again. Oh, man, this guy. The only good thing about him is he's got a vesting option he's not going to meet. So I'm not going to be burned too bad from him. So game 4, can we win the series? Yes, 2-1. And that puts us a game and a half over Atlanta. Pritchard was good here, 3 for 4. Pete Parker, 11th win, 7 strong innings. That's the kind of thing I need. Now, this is the big one. This is bigger than the last series against Atlanta. If we can win this one, 2 of 3 at home, we may just squeak by them. So game 1 at Atlanta, We lose 4-1. Good news though, Juan Paris is back healthy. Um, Thompson pitched this game and pitched strong. 7 1/3, just gave up 2, struck out 10, but Clark blew it in the bullpen. I am going to Nationals out of the playoffs. I am going to get Paris back in that lineup. Glad to see him back. Wait, what is this going to be? Barajas at first base? That's not right. I messed that one up. And now and I think Cal, if we see it, I'm going to put him in there as DH. I'm not sure we'll see many DH situations the rest of the year, but just to be safe. All right, so game 2 against Atlanta. A win puts us back a game and a half up, and we do win big, 8-3. Bond was 3 for 5, drove in 3. Paris off the DL, 2 for 4. Warlick drove in a couple. Barbarossa, pitcher, was 2 for 3, and he picked up his 14th win. Good deal. So we're going to end this series still on top, but man, if we win here and go 2.5 up, that would be awesome. And we do another 8-3 win. So Pat Dowdy, Steve Bond, both 3 hits in this game. Paris, another home run, 29th of the year. Vega, 2 for 3. Guptill, who has looked really good, I think, playing limited. He's probably been a better catcher overall than Quartang, who's starting. But Dion picked up his 10th win with a pretty solid outing. So now players of the week and weekly news. Jamie Burnham. Wow. 15 K, 16 Ks. I think it's going to be between him, if I'm looking at the standings here, it's going to be between him and Zach Thompson for Cy Young. I would really hope that, Zach Thompson has 3 more wins than Burnham. Is not too far behind him on strikeouts. I really would hope Thompson could get it this year if he keeps it up. All right, so players of the week. Jonathan Medina, former Kansas City Royal, still playing decent at the end of his career. Chris Morgan for the Cubs. And now weekly rankings, we're up to 3rd again. So Arizona's struggling a little bit. That's because of probably that Howard injury. Man, it'd be nice to overtake them for best record. But Magic number at 18. We're going to be versus Washington. So home against Washington to start out this week. Washington already eliminated. And game 1, 9-12. Man, they just blew us out. So some good offense, I guess, from Paris. But McAvee, weak again. 3 innings, 5 earned runs. Is this guy falling apart in front of our eyes? Dean, a bad outing in relief. He got the loss. So game 2 against Washington, 8-0 shutout, and looks like this was going to be Pete Parker doing this. Steve Bond 2 for 4, Pritchard 2 for 3, and then Vega 4 RBIs in this game. But Parker, the big story, 9 innings, just 1 hit, no walk. He was 1 hit away from a perfect game, 10 Ks. Great outing from him. Pat Dowdy, though, he's going to be out. That's not what I need to see here either. Not at this stage of the season. So he's going to miss the playoffs more than likely. And, oh, man. So for the lineups, I'm going to have to put Radeball back in there. And I guess Barajas would just be backing up. Oh, why is it doing that? Second time it seems like it's done that on me. So Barajas backing up. I know that Radeball has been pretty decent, getting more time this year, but I'm really, really wanting Doughty in this situation for the rest of the year. And so we're going to have Kyle there. All right, so is that the lineups all set? All right, so game 3 against Washington. Come on, 3-0, another shutout. Pritchard, Paris, multiple hits in the game. Zach Thompson, 19th win, another solid outing. 8 innings, 4 hits, no walks. Hadakayama, his 44th save. Now we got game 4 against Washington. Now we lose 1-4. And that puts us back just a half game over Atlanta. And Barbarossa, a tough outing from him. So Atlanta could be tied again. No, they're a game back. And we're getting trade proposals here late in the year. And it's not going to do us any good. We're not going to do them. All right, we got a 2-game series here against Toronto real quick. Game 1, lose 10-4, and Atlanta's tied. Radeball was 2 for 3 in the game. Vega drove in 3, but McAvee, I think I'm just going to have to get rid of this guy at this point. This is so stressful. Do I want to put Joe Scott as a starter? If I'm looking at his ratings as a starting pitcher, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Joe Scott, you're going to take over for McAfee. I think I've seen enough at this point. McAfee, you're going to be just middle relief at this point. All right, game 2 against Toronto, 9-5. Boy, do we need that one. Good offense from a lot of guys here. Radebov, Pritchard, 4 for 5. He's back hitting over 300 again. Vega, his numbers every time I look at him, the box score, he's doing really good, but still at 227 average for the year. Parker picked up his 13th win, so he's got a chance of getting surpassing, I guess, his high for us, which was 14 last year. All right, so now another big series at Washington. We'll look at the news at the end of the week here. Juan Castillo, player of the week in the American League. Zach Schatz, a very young player out of Cincinnati, player of the week in the National League. Weekly team power rankings, we're down to 4th. Atlanta passed us in the rankings. Boston loses Mike Rudd for 4 weeks. And if we look at the standings now, still the Yankees, Minnesota, who we've got coming up on the road. That's a tough assignment, huh? Seattle moving ahead of Houston. Still just us in Atlanta in the East. Man, it's really tightened up in the Central. Chicago just a half game up over Pittsburgh. And there's only 12 games left. Arizona running away with it still. All right, so at Washington, this is going to be a tough one. 3-game series. Game 1, we win 4-1. Man, we just needed that. Arizona, they're going to have the top spot in the West. So Vega, another good game here, 2 for 4, drove in 3. Pritchard may have hit a home run too, looks like. And then Zach Thompson, win number 20. Man, this guy, I didn't really expect to see a 20-win season from him yet, but I'm glad to see it. Game 2 against Washington. Got to keep winning here. Please win. 5-2. 5-2. Great win. Paris 2 for 4, drove in 3. He's up to 31 home runs, and that's missing. Gosh, he's probably going to wind up missing 25 games or so this season. So he's definitely giving me a lot of production. Looks like Bond's struggling. Average down to 338. Scott pitched a good game here. 6 innings, just 2 earned runs. Hadakayama, 46 save. Now game 3 against Washington. Can we sweep them? We don't. Lose 5-7. Bond had a couple hits here. Pritchard a couple hits. Vega still, every time I'm looking at him on the box score, how does his average at 229? It seems strange to me, but Barbarossa did not lose here. Clark took the loss, but not a great game for Barbarossa. So now, any big news to look at? Seattle's in. Oh man, this Twins. This is not the team I want to face right now. Good thing we are 2 games up over Atlanta. We got a little bit of a cushion. Game 1 at Minnesota, 5-2, big win. Let's see, Gutierrez 3 for 4, Warlick a couple RBIs, and Cal, he drove in a run. Ken Dion got his 11th win. Game 2 against Minnesota, another big win, 10-4. Pritchard 3 hits. Paris drove in 4. Warlick a couple of hits. Good offense up and down the line there. And then Parker, win number 14, even though he wasn't that strong in this one. So one more win, he passes his high with the Phillies anyway. Now game 3 against Minnesota, we lose 3-5. But big news, we gained another game. We're up on 3 on Atlanta. Let's see, Paris had a good game here. Gutierrez 2 for 4 at the bottom of the lineup. And man, Thompson was hammered. Looks like, let me see, he's being used a lot here lately. Maybe he's just getting tired, but let me take a look at the weekly news. I hope that's not going to be a trend down the stretch. So Indians are in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs, so that's good news. But now we just got to finish strong. Granda, Player of the Week in the American League, he's already up to 62 home runs. Probably going to win another MVP award. Danny Baird having a great year for Chicago. And power rankings, we moved past Atlanta. We're now 4th. Atlanta dropped to 10th. It looks like we've won 6 of 4. They've lost 6 of 4. Or we've won 6 of 10. They've lost 6 of 10. All right, so now we're going to go up against New York, down to just 7 games left. So magic number at 5. Game 1 against New York on the road. They could play spoiler here, but we win the first one 3-1. And then Pat Dowdy suffers a setback. Looks like he's gone for the playoffs. But looking at this win, we didn't have a lot going on offensively, but Joe Scott, good outing from him. 6 innings, no runs. Yeah, I know what you're probably saying if you're watching. Why didn't you do this earlier? Well, I had too much money invested in McAfee. That's why I didn't, I guess. But 48 save from Hadakiyama, 2 away from 50 now. Game 2 against New York, another 4-1 win that may have put us in as National League East winners. Let me double check. But Baum was strong here, 3 for 5. Kortang a couple hits. Barbarossa, his 15th win. I've talked about this guy before. He has given me in the last 4 seasons 30, 41, 56 wins. That's really good. I know this guy's only a 2.5-star pitcher, but there's something about him. He's just been, he gives up a lot of home runs, but he's just been very consistent, it seems like. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him in the offseason, but I'm going to take a look at the news just to see. Atlanta's into the playoffs, and batters of the month, Juan Arriola in the American League for Minnesota, Danny Baird in the National League for Chicago, and look at this, Parker now, Pete Parker, pitcher of the month for September in the National League. Danny Cole at Baltimore having a great rookie season. Player development update, I'll look at it quickly here. Zach Thompson improved. He's now 5 stars overall from our scout. Pete Parker dropped a little bit. Kortang picked up a couple things there. Pat Branke, this guy who is now at Las Vegas, he's got a chance of making the bullpen next year, I think. Sergio Robolo is probably my best, or at least he came into the season as my top-rated prospect. He's losing some ratings this year. I hate to see that. He was coming up a few times in trade offers too. J.J. Cravens, though, pitcher out of Lakewood, he's probably now my best starting pitching prospect. I think he's about ready to, a year or two, I think he's probably going to be in the majors. But let's get back to the games. Standings-wise, we're in one more win or a loss from Atlanta. We clinched the division. And there you go. 4 times in a row we have won the National League East. Great run. I had my doubts going into the season, especially after that first month. But this team is stronger than I thought, honestly. We're getting some good wins here down the stretch from Ken Dion, too. So, oh, man, we may have another, barring some more serious injuries, we may have another World Series run. And we sweep a 4-game series against the Mets. Game 4, 3-0 win. Pritchard a couple hits. He's finished strong. For September, he was 337 batting average, so I hope he keeps that up for the playoffs. Parker, 15th win. Hidekiyama's 50th save. Parker has looked like the pitcher I thought he was going to be when we got him. He might now be getting some serious votes for Cy Young. He's already won that award once. And now, news, just to check it up. So we win the East. What are our chances now? We're not going to catch them for the best record. I just don't see it. But we're going to finish out with Miami at home. Another shutout, 2-0. Behind, struggling a little bit down the stretch. Paris got his 35th home run. I'm still, all in all, I'm still glad I made that trade. I just really, I think, needed this kind of production in the middle of the lineup. Pretty high average from him, good power. And then Thompson, win number 21. Hidekiyama, 51st save. I haven't seen a 20-game winner in this playthrough in a while for my team. This may be the top. Yeah, I'd have to go back a long time if I've had a guy in this playthrough over 21 wins. All right, so game 2 against Miami. We lose finally 4-5. Pat Cal got the start here at first, hit 3 hits. Guptill 2 for 4. Romero coming off the bench. Scott finally had a pretty poor start, but I might have to rely on this guy in the playoffs as a starting pitcher. And then game 2 against Miami, 9-2. That was game 3. Sorry. So good offensive here from Paris. 3 for 3, drove in 5, but he's injured, unfortunately. Hopefully that won't be too bad. Just 5 days. Finished with a strong year, though, even though he was injured quite a bit. Bond struggled down the stretch. I guess that's an understatement. But after having such a great season, he hit 253 in September, just 158 in October. So I guess the magic kind of left from him. But Barbarossa picked up his 16th win. Guy just keeps doing it. We're going to look at the end of season news here, and then we'll take a look at how the playoff situation is going to be. So players of the week, Luis Caballero, Tampa Bay, and then Chris Taylor in Colorado. Power rankings, we finished 3rd, so that gives us kind of even a nod over at Arizona, so maybe that's a good sign. Some minor league awards here. International League Reliever of the Year went to Luis Vargas, who is the guy I was talking about, or I may have mentioned him earlier. Wasn't really quite ready for the majors. I think he will be next year. But he was the reliever of the year in the International League, so that's good. So let's take a look at the final standings. New York finished with 100 wins, although they struggled down the stretch. Boston's in the playoffs. And look at this. Cleveland overcame Minnesota. Cleveland, wow, they are not a team to be messed with, I don't think. They were strong offensively last year. If we get to the World Series, that's definitely a team I do not want to face. Then Seattle ran away with it in the West. So that's a strong, really strong playoff lineup in the American League. Jeremy Doe once again led the league in batting, 353. Granda, 63 home runs. Josh Gordon, former Philly, managed to do what they predicted he would do, which is hit over 50 home runs. Great season from him. Depends on how he finishes up. He could hit that 500 home run mark. This might be a Hall of Famer in the future. And then wins, Nava, Cleveland. Nurowski had 253 strikeouts, 40 saves, led the American League. In the National League, Steve Bond managed to hang on and take the batting average lead home runs with Escalera, sorry, in Atlanta with 47. Atlanta finished strong too. They won their last 5, so they may have gotten their things straightened out. Suzuki, another good year from him. 45 home runs, 130 RBIs, 106 walks. This guy's just he's a beast. I don't want to face him again in the playoffs either. And then we go down to the pitching, and we've got some leaders showing up on the leaderboards. Zach Thompson at 21 wins. Doug Barbarossa finished third with 16. And then I think you got Parker there was probably in the top 5. He finished with 15. But you also have Zach Thompson leading the league in wins above replacement. I think this might be this guy's year. 3rd year in the league. I think he might just be the strongest contender anyway for Cy Young Award winner. I mean, you lead in wins, 225 strikeouts, just 15 home runs. I like that about him too. Was probably 4th based on those numbers in ERA. Man, I think he could do it. And I also think Hatakeyama, who I feel like should have won or at least gotten more votes last year for the reliever of the year, this could be his year. He did blow a few saves, but 51 saves to lead the league by 3. I think he's got a good chance of that. But playoff-wise, it's going to be Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Arizona, with, it looks like Chicago and San Francisco playing for that last playoff spot. So let's see how that turns out. All right, so do we have anybody in the Southern League? I don't think so. All right, so Bond getting some notice there as the batting average leader. So it's going to go to the Giants. Chicago really blew it there down the stretch. So that means for us, we're probably going to face Pittsburgh in that opening series. I'm okay with that, I think. They don't look all that great offensively. Maybe have a couple really good, 3 pretty decent starters they can depend on. As far as team versus team against them, let me, where's the best place to find that? All right, so team versus team. In terms of us against Pittsburgh, we were 4-3, so it's going to be pretty tight. We were 3-4 against Arizona, 12-7 against the Braves, so that's hopefully a good sign. And then 4-2 against San Francisco. I don't know. We may have a decent chance again this year, but I'm going to have to get my roster set. As I usually do, I'll try to play out as much as I can unless it's just looking like we're going to easily lose, and then I'll come back and just have like a recap. But the next episode is probably going to be, or at least hopefully it's going to be, the League Division Series, us in a clinching game. But as always, thanks for watching. Appreciate the likes and comments, and I will see you next episode.